Life in the Stone Age. In cartoons, the Stone Age looks like a barrel of laughs. It's made out to be the best time ever, filled with action-packed adventures and cavemen riding around on pterodactyls. But the real Stone Age was very, very different. The Stone Age began around 2.5 million years ago. By then, dinosaurs were long gone. And while Stone Age kids didn't have to worry about homework or being late for school, they did have a much bigger problem: staying alive long enough to become grown-ups. So what was life really like back then? Well, you'd probably spend most of your days hunting for food or hiding from rampaging megabears. There were no supermarkets or video games, and no such thing as a hot bath. It was the Stone Age, after all. If it wasn't made of stone, forget about it. Now let's see what it really took to survive in the Stone Age. People in the Stone Age were hunter-gatherers. This means they survived by hunting, fishing, and collecting wild food. They ate everything from deer to rhinos, mammoth stew, anyone, and edible plants like nettles and dandelions. If they were feeling extra brave and fancied something sweet, they'd go for the ultimate sting, robbing a beehive for honey. It was risky, but fighting off angry bees was better than eating rotten meat left by other animals. Yes, you read that right. Sometimes eating leftover scraps was the only way to stay alive. Over time, Stone Age people came up with different ways to hunt. Some used sharpened stones as axes, getting dangerously close to animals that definitely didn't want to be dinner. Others played it safe and threw spears from a distance instead. People living near the coast had another option: throwing grass nets or bonefish hooks into the water to catch fish. Fast food, Stone Age style. Since hunting for food was hard work, nothing went to waste. Early humans ate anything they could capture, even opening up an animal's stomach to eat the food inside. Gross, right? But it gets worse. Maggots, caterpillars, and snails were also on the menu. Bon appetit. How Stone Age people ate their meat depended on whether they could cook it. Scientists think that in the early Stone Age, before humans could make fire, they ate most of their meat raw. Chewy! But once some groups learned how to make and control fire, hot meals became the norm. They'd roast meat on a spit over the flames, or wrap it in straw and boil it in a pot of water. Some even cooked their meat on red-hot stones, pulled straight from the fire. All this hunting, fishing, and scavenging was exhausting. Toward the end of the Stone Age, people began growing crops and keeping animals like sheep and goats nearby for food. Meals became more predictable, and life became a little less frantic. For the first time, people could settle in one place. Some early humans had to travel long distances to find their food. When they needed shelter, caves were a popular choice. Sounds cozy, right? Wrong. Things got awkward when a bear decided to wander in and claim the same spot. If Stone Age travelers didn't fancy wrestling a grizzly for their bedroom, they pitched a tent instead. These were made from animal skins stretched over stick frames, with beds of grass and leaves inside. Not exactly five-star luxury. Still, it beats sleeping on a cold, lumpy rock with a bear breathing down your neck. As early humans learned to farm, they traveled less and built permanent towns. They used whatever materials were easiest to find. Houses often had wooden frames, thatched roofs, and walls made from stone or sun-dried mud bricks. A great example is Skara Brae, a Stone Age village on the Orkney Islands in Scotland. Scientists discovered the village when a storm blew the sand off the remains of the buildings. The homes there were built from large stone slabs. Each formed a single circular room with a roof made from thatched grass or seaweed. The coolest part? Covered passageways connected all the houses, probably so neighbors could visit each other and gossip without getting soaked in a storm. Stone Age people also made their furniture from whatever they could find nearby, including stone, grass, or wood. Like people today, they had beds, cupboards, and even shelves where they kept things they used day to day. Some even had hearths where families would cook and spend time together. For light, they used dishes filled with animal fat, which burned a bit like candles. This was especially handy for midnight toilet trips. The flame helped them see while they did their business and scared off any hungry animals lurking in the bushes. Now, you might be wondering, was Stone Age toilet paper made of stone? Luckily, no. It was made of something much softer. No, not rabbits. Moss! After a quick wipe, all the Stone Age toilet goer had to do was walk back home, trying not to step in anyone else's, well, you know. The Stone Age was a very dangerous time to be alive. If you were lucky enough to avoid an animal attack, something as simple as a toothache could be disastrous. But surprisingly, scientists have found evidence that Stone Age doctors knew a thing or two about fending off death using medicinal plants. Scientists studied the fossilized teeth of a Stone Age woman. Fossilized means they were preserved for thousands of years. They found she had a terrible tooth infection that was being treated with yarrow and chamomile. These herbs have natural healing powers. She had also been chewing poplar tree bark, a natural painkiller and antibiotic. Impressed? Wait till you hear this. There were Stone Age surgeons who performed brain surgery. Using carefully sharpened stone tools, they made a small opening in the skull. But if you thought this was something only a crazy Stone Age person would try, you'd be wrong. Modern scientists have shown that this procedure, known as trepanning, helps to relieve pressure on the brain. Skilled surgeons still perform it today. Trepanning sounds terrible, but many Stone Age people survived it without catching an infection afterwards. This suggests they knew to keep wounds clean and regularly used plants with antiseptic properties. Scientists have even found Stone Age medical kits with antiseptic treatments still inside. One of these was tree fungus, which contains chemicals that can fight bacteria, ease stomach problems, and even help stop wounds from getting infected. So if you were sick back then, your medicine wouldn't have been a sweet syrup. It would have been a chewy lump of moldy fungus scraped off a birch tree. And here's the really revolting bit. If you had stomach worms, which loads of Stone Age people did, the fungus would give you such explosive diarrhea that it would flush the parasites right out of your bottom. You might think that because Stone Age clothes have disintegrated, we wouldn't know anything about Stone Age fashion. But clues left behind tell us plenty. For instance, many early humans who lived in cold climates used animal pelts and fur to keep themselves toasty warm. They needed it too. Early humans had to survive freezing weather and even ice ages. These were long periods when the weather became so cold that huge sheets of ice formed over large areas of land. It might sound like the perfect weather for a snowball fight, but ice ages were dangerously cold and killed off lots of Stone Age people who didn't adapt to the icy weather. Survivors stayed alive by wearing snug clothing that kept the cold air out and layering lots of different pieces of clothing on top of each other. Making clothes was quite a process. Stone Age people would cut up animal hides using sharp stone blades, scrape the hair off, then use an awl, a sharpened needle-like tool made from an animal bone, to make holes in the hide. Then they'd thread sinew from an animal, basically the stringy bits of muscles, to sew all the pieces together. Fancy! They would also use leather and plant fibers like hemp, moss, and flax to make other pieces of clothing to layer beneath the animal hide. Stone Age humans even used rope and plant fibers to make snowshoes so they could travel during snowy weather. One of the best clues about Stone Age fashion comes from Ötzi the Iceman. His body lay frozen in ice for thousands of years before being discovered by two German tourists in the Alps. His clothes showed scientists what Stone Age people really wore. Ötzi had a loincloth and leggings that went from his ankles to his thighs. He also wore a cloak made from woven grass, clothes made from goat and sheep hides, and a hat made from bear skin. But the real showstopper was his shoes. They were so well designed that scientists think a Stone Age cobbler might have made them. Ötzi's outfit proves our ancestors were fashion-forward survivors who knew exactly how to beat the cold. Stone Age people may have believed in things they could not see or explain, like luck, spirits, and life after death. Archaeological clues hint they used rituals to cope with these mysteries. Some were careful and meaningful. Others were not for the faint-hearted. For example, some late Stone Age communities had very unusual burial practices involving human heads. When someone died, their body might be buried normally, but the head was sometimes removed and treated separately. The skull would be carefully prepared and decorated. In some places, people would even rebuild the face using plaster and insert shells for eyes. These plastered skulls have been found inside houses, right where families lived. The people must have kept them nearby because they were really important. Maybe they were remembering their grandparents, great leaders, or other special family members. We can't be certain what they believed, but these decorated heads clearly meant a lot to them. It might sound creepy to us now, but to them, having Grandma's skull on the mantelpiece was probably perfectly normal. Bodies were also buried with things people thought they'd need in the afterlife. Group leaders got buried with all the fancy stuff they'd need to boss people around in the great beyond. Mourners might have thrown in a bow and arrow for hunting, or a seashell necklace so the deceased could look their best. After all, even dead chiefs need to look sharp. But scientists have found even stranger burial gifts, like extra teeth and a whole cat. Stone Age people also built special places to honor the dead. The most mysterious one? Stonehenge. It's thought to have been used for rituals and possibly burials. It might just look like a pile of stones now, but back in ancient times, well, it probably looked exactly the same. So what was it actually for? Was it a temple? A place of healing? A massive calendar? Nobody knows, and we probably never will, especially since most people are too busy trying to work out how it was even built. Some legends say giants assembled the colossal stones in Ireland before the wizard Merlin magically moved them to England. Stone Age people are often thought of as unskilled, but the tools and weapons discovered from this period show a very different picture. Early humans were incredibly inventive. While they started with simple stone tools, they also made weapons and tools from elephant and hippo bones. These were used to hunt animals and create even more equipment. Resourceful or what? Some of these tools changed everything. Bows and arrows and spears made hunting and self-defense way easier. Stone axes were super useful too, great for chopping firewood to keep warm or build shelters. Most weapons and tools were created by Stone Age toolmakers who would collect bones and antlers from the animals they'd hunted. They'd use a piece of flint and carefully chip at the bones and antlers to create a variety of weapons. A Stone Age toolkit often included a stone core, which was chipped to remove sharp stone flakes for cutting and scraping. There was also a hammerstone, which people used to strike other stones to make flakes. Toolkits might have included an arrowhead, too. These were sharpened, then tied to long wooden shafts using animal sinew. If sinew was in short supply, tool makers could whip up their own Stone Age glue from pine resin, beeswax, and charcoal. Talk about DIY. Once they had a fresh supply of weapons, they could head out hunting again. Every part of an animal was used, helping the group survive and prepare for future hunts. A lot of Stone Age life was pretty rotten. People lived in caves, dodged angry animals, and ate things you probably wouldn't feed to your worst enemy. But it wasn't all for nothing. Life in the Stone Age was tough, and early humans had to be tougher. Scientists keep discovering more about Stone Age people, and the clever tools they left behind prove just how resourceful they were. They built homes from scratch, made glue out of beeswax, and fought bears for bedroom space. Even with all that going on, they still found the time to look after the sick and injured. The more we learn about Stone Age people, the more we realize they weren't so different from us. They solved problems, adapted to whatever nature threw at them, and managed to survive despite their questionable diet choices.